welcome back to the Real Men of Real Estate. I am your host, Marie Antonette Waite, and we have our guest, attorney Charles James. So we were talking about his construction company and experience as a developer. And so, Charles, you were saying earlier that your company has done 20 plus years of work in the construction industry. Can you share some of the main stories that you have accomplished in that company?
Well, I mean, I think the interesting part about my company is that we started out as handyman. And what we used to do is we worked for Pringle Brothers. Pringle Brothers are some of the largest, and I won't mention any other names after this, one of the largest developers in LA, and basically had a lot of different apartment complexes that we worked on. And we built out places for them as a small, like, I guess, contractor, handyman type of contractor, did a lot of work for them. And then we extended our business and started to go larger and go into building commercial spaces on our own, building over 100,000 square feet properties, 200,000 square feet properties, and building those out on our own. And so basically that's how we expanded into the market, into the commercial market. So we started really small, and then we built ourselves up into a larger contractor. So a lot of contractors that you see out here, a lot of people see them and think, oh my God, you guys are huge, or you're big contractors. Everybody starts from a small position.
Okay.
And larger, but like I said before in the last segment, it's a lot of sleepless nights, it's a lot of understanding, and it's a lot of building rapport and relationships. And I'll say this, a lot of people think it's education, a lot of people think it's just putting a great team together. This business is about grit. That's the main ingredient. It's about grit. If you're strong and you're resilient, you will last in this business. If you're not, you won't last.
Okay. And what area do you normally
We can work all over Southern and Northern California. It just depends on what the project is and how it fits within our scope. Like I said to you before, if it doesn't fit within our scope, we won't do the project. If it's Northern or Southern California and it fits within our scope and we like the project, we can take it on.
Okay. And so now, I mean, you also now a lawyer. How does that benefit what you're doing? I'm sure it's gonna, definitely there's a lot more value to it.
Well, let me tell you a quick story. One time we had a client and we had a very difficult contract. And we didn't understand the contract because we were contractors. So we didn't understand everything that went into the contract. So we hired a lawyer to help us understand the contract. And one day the lawyer was leaving, he laughed and he said, Charles, if you were a lawyer, you would understand this yourself. You wouldn't even need me. And as a competitive person, I was like, hey, you know what? That might be a good idea. And I started looking into law schools and became a lawyer. And yes, in answer to your question, it helps you because you understand the legalities of the contract. And I think that's what makes our business strong. That's one of the secret sauces I will give you, Maria. As a lawyer, I can understand my own contracts. And I understand what the client is getting into, what we're getting into. Although I never represent the client, we're not a disinterested party here. We represent ourselves, but we understand the contract. So that's, I think, one of the strengths.
How long did it take for you to finish your law degree?
It took about 4 or 5 years because of the fact that I was building buildings, going back and forth, running all around, trying to, can keep my construction company going and just trying to do all the things that everybody does daily. So it was really challenging. So about 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so you're kind of doing in between your projects, and I'm sure the bar exam too.
Oh yeah, the bar exam, like no other thing in the world. California is number one. I guess you could say California is the hardest bar exam in the country. Yes.
Well, that's a lot of commitment and persistence on your side to be able to do both. I mean, the fact that, you're running a construction company and working on big projects at the same time going to school. I mean, your mindset is so strong to fulfill all of those. I mean, what's going on in your mind? I mean, I'm sure there's some times that it's probably you think that, oh my God, this is too much.
You were reading my mind then, yeah, because there's times when you're working on projects and you have deadlines. So I had deadlines in law school. I had deadlines for construction projects, and both of the deadlines sometimes hit at the same time.
Mhm.
So you just have to really have a lot of grit. Like I said before, I know a lot of people don't know that word. It's an old word today, but you have to have a lot of tenacity to want to finish. And my thing is that I wanted to make my construction company one of the strongest companies in the country. Because if you go around and you look and you say, how many percent of lawyers own construction and development companies? I guarantee you won't even be 1% all throughout the country.
Oh, wow.
It's not. So I knew that if I started it, I have to finish. And our slogan for our company is excellence one project at a time. And I use that across the board for my life. Excellence one project at a time. So we want to complete everything we start. We don't ever start anything that we're not going to finish.
Well, this type of commitment you have, I mean, what is your background before construction?
First and foremost, you know, my mom was a big influence in my life, and she always finished everything she started. And so 6 kids, single mom. And, you know, the next step was when I got into sports, I was a football player. I was a wide receiver, NCAA football player, wide receiver. And the biggest thing that I've always learned is that, you know, if there's an inch that we need, you got to go get that inch. If there's a pass that needs to be caught, I had to go catch that pass. And, you know, your coaches put a lot of energy into teaching you that you have to keep fighting for the next step. You just keep fighting and fighting, and you never give up. And if you watch any football game, every person out there is trying. They're trying to put in an effort so that they can win, they can get to the next step. I've taken all those things and combined them and put them together to make my life what it is today, and make my career what I want it to be. And I've been around a lot of good mentors and things of that nature. So that's a brief understanding of how it started and where it is today. But I just never give up.
So I see that, you know, it's really good for people to take some mentorship in order to have that strong mindset in completing tasks in the future for their business, right?
It's definitely great. One of my mentors was Richard Copeland, and this is how I met Richard Copeland. Richard Copeland is a minority builder. He's one of the largest Black builders in the country. And one day I was sitting in my office and I was frustrated because I was working on a problem that I couldn't solve. And so I looked on the internet, and people might think this story is crazy, but this is how it happened. I looked on the internet, said, God, I need somebody to help me with this problem. Richard was in Las Vegas, and so he owned Thor Construction. If you guys ever look it up, it's Thor Construction. It's a $300 million company. I picked up the phone and I called and I said, I want to speak to Richard Copeland. The secretary said, he doesn't just take calls like that. I said, okay. I hung up the phone. I waited 20 minutes. I called back again. I said, I want to speak to Richard Copeland. She said, aren't you the same guy that just called here? I said, yeah, I'm the same guy that just called here, but I'm going to be calling here tomorrow and the next day. And she said, can you just hold on a second? She was really frustrated. Next thing I know, this big booming voice came on the phone. This is Richard Copeland. How can you help me? I said, Mr. Copeland, I'm a mid-sized builder. I'm having a problem and I need somebody to help me. He said, what do you need? So I told him. He said, that's simple. Do this, this, and this. I'm like, oh my God, the answer's right there. So he gave it to me. And then I said, I'd like to meet you one day. So he told me, he said, go to the airport and I'll fly you out here, come out tomorrow and talk to me. So I flew out. I didn't know this was going to happen, Maria. He was working on one of the biggest hotels in Las Vegas and said, okay, look, here's your chance. I'm going to let you run my company for one day.
That's an opportunity.
Now you tell me that's not nuts. He said, look, if you were me, what would you do today? And I could not believe it. Richard is no longer with us. He died last year. But just getting to meet people that are at a larger space and a larger place, you have to reach out and you have to be persistent. And maybe it won't happen like it happened with me, but we all need mentors. And if you think you're going to get over that large hill without somebody mentoring you, you may get over it, but it's going to take you a long time. And with somebody like Richard Copeland, he came in and started bidding with me on my projects. He flew out to California and bid projects with me. and actually went in the room and told people, if he can't do the project on his own, I'll do it with him.
Wow.
And these people are like, this is Richard Copeland sitting at the table, co-signing with this guy, saying that if he can't do the project financially, or if he can't do it, he'll do it with me. Now, how crazy is that?
That is amazing. That's the gift of persistence, and being focused on what you want in life. Do you mentor also?
I do mentor. I'm very selective, though. I will mentor people, but I'm selective because a lot of people claim that they want to be mentored, and the moment that they get in and start working with you, they want to tell you how to do the work or what to do. And one of the things that I was about to do a video series on, when you hire a professional, are you around professionals? Let them do their job. Let them be the professional. Don't try to be the professional. Don't try to outrun the professional. Let them do their job. One of my biggest things that I had with Richard is, I told Richard, I'll never outrun you. He said, what does that mean? I said, because you're my mentor. You're the person I'm looking up to. You're the person that's sponsoring me. I'm never going to try to outrun you. And I never try to outrun him. What I did is I went to meetings with him. He bought franchises. I bought a franchise. And I went to learn how to buy these franchises. Because I purchased the Fat Burger franchise. Okay. And I learned how to do that through Richard. And so I never tried to get out front, because Richard purchased franchises in Las Vegas. He owned all kinds of different franchises. And he taught me how to do that. And the only way I could have learned is by listening to what he said. I just watched what he did, and I listened to what he said, and then I went and repeated it. So it's like rinse and repeat. But a lot of people have challenges with mentors because of the fact that they're not there to listen.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be mentored, be there to listen. And it'll work.
Well, we're gonna take another break, Attorney Charles James, because I think I wanted to, in our next segment, I really wanted to paint the picture of how you run your business. We're gonna take a break. Don't go away. This is your host, Marie Antonette Waite, and we are here at the Real Men of Real Estate.